With teaching online, I think there's a misconception that there's no way to have student interactions in synchronous online sessions. And while I'm not going to pretend that your online sessions are going to feel or actually be as interactive as an in-person class session, there are some tools that I've found that can help to make your online sessions a bit more interactive for students. I'm going to focus just on three different tools that I have found to be pretty successful. These are not tools that are preloaded into WebEx or into Canvas. These are separate tools that you can find online. There are also some tools in WebEx to make sessions interactive, like breakout groups, polling, having students like or dislike things, but all of those things you can find in WebEx. So these are just three tools that I use. The first is facilitating student presentations. Students can present really effectively in our WebEx synchronous session. So I'll tell you one method that I have used to do that. Another is Padlet, and then the third is AnswerGarden. So first, I'll show you a student presentations format. I use student presentations a lot for reading responses in my class, but you can also use them for larger projects, and I have, and it's been effective that way as well. So I'm just pulling up one example assignment in one of my online courses. For this assignment, students are put into pairs, and they are assigned different chapters to read from the text. So you can see all of those directions here. They then work with, I put my students into partners. You obviously don't have to, but it makes the session run a little bit more quickly when they are working in partners. But for the purposes of responding to their reading, I have them come up with 5 important takeaways from the chapter. Obviously, you would alter this depending on the content that you're studying and having students read. And then I have students contribute to a shared Google presentation. So I set up this Google presentation and just set the privileges so that anyone with the link at UNCC can edit the presentation. And then I give each student partner a page in the presentation. So when we go to the link, this one obviously has already been populated by my students because I've already taught this. But when the students clicked on this link originally, all of the pages were empty except for that first one. So then when the students go to the presentation, they have a specific page already assigned to them. So Eric and Selena read chapter 3, and you can see here where they've populated the page with their 5 takeaways, and then the discussion question based on Bloom's taxonomy that I asked them to develop. Then during our live session via WebEx training sessions, I was able to pull up this presentation, share my screen with the entire class, and then as I clicked to each of the different slides in the PowerPoint, the 2 students who had been assigned to that chapter were given 3 to 5 minutes, which I kept time for them, to discuss their main takeaways and then to facilitate a very short discussion around the question that they posed. This is a really good way to control the time and tech issues with student presentations. Rather than having students develop their own presentations in Google Presentations or PowerPoint or wherever, whatever tool they want to use, it's much quicker to just give them the tool and to work from one presentation for the whole class, rather than trying to go back and forth between a lot of different tools and giving students different privileges so that they can share during the WebEx. So that is one way to facilitate student presentations using Google Presentation or PowerPoint. Either one would work. The next tool that I found to be really helpful is AnswerGarden, and this is a free online tool. You don't even have to create an account, but it's a good way. I use it a lot of times to just get quick feedback from my students about either something that they're still questioning or quick takeaways from what they've read. So it's a good way to start or close a class, or to check for understanding in the middle of a class. So if you do a lot of lecture heavy synchronous sessions, this is a good way to get some quick student interaction. And if you have large class sessions, with more than 20 people, this is a really good way to gather information quickly from a large group of students. So AnswerGarden has a lot of options. When you come to answergarden.ch, you'll just click the plus sign to create a new AnswerGarden. And you'll put your topic in. So here's a topic that I've used before. What is one concept that is still unclear? I like to keep my topics pretty short and to the point. I don't want long, lengthy answers here because the point is to get information quickly, not to get whole paragraphs of information from students. You have a lot of options. You can, I usually use classroom mode. It just allows students to contribute as much as they want to. It's kind of the easiest mode to use, but another one is moderator. And so this allows you to manually approve the things that students post. So if you're concerned about students posting things that are inappropriate, definitely go with moderator. Otherwise, they're college students. Usually they're okay. So classroom will probably be fine. You can change the length of responses from 20 to 40. Again, I usually use 20 because I just want quick answers. You can include a password if you want that. You can send reminder emails if you want. You can add spam filters, make rules about the case, and then discoverability. I usually create the answer card in the moments before class time. So 1 hour to 1 day is usually plenty for me. And then you just push create. Then you'll have this answer garden. So you can click this link here and share it with your students. And then whenever they go to that link, they'll come to a page that looks just like this, and they can type in their response. So let's say theme is a topic or a concept that's still unclear. Students would put theme and then submit. And then as, can't think and type at the same time, as students populate this, you will see a word bubble appearing down at the bottom. What the word bubble does, it'll tell you how many times things have been added, and the larger the words get, that just indicates that term or that concept has been input multiple times. So it gives you a really quick idea of what concepts or what takeaways your students have, because the larger the word, the more students who are questioning that thing. You can then take a screenshot of this so that you can use the information later. But this is also, if you're using this in a live session or a synchronous session rather, you can share your screen with students via WebEx. And so as they are on their own device putting in their concepts here, you are sharing this large word bubble with them so that they're able to see what the whole class's perception of whatever the question is. Okay, the last one, the last tool is called Padlet. Padlet is also a free tool, so you can just go to padlet.com. You do have to set up an account, and there are unfortunately very strict limits on Padlet. You can only create 3 Padlets for free, but I find that I don't need to keep my Padlets, so I typically delete them. You can see the most recent ones I have in my dashboard are from about a month ago. So I typically just delete them after the class. What you do when you go to Padlet and set up your account, you'll make a Padlet, and when you click that link, it'll take you here. And there are a lot of different options for how you set up your Padlet. It just depends on what you're needing. The ones that I've seen most effective for like a whole class Padlet are the wall, the shelf, and the timeline. Again, it just depends on what you're using the Padlet for. There's also a cool option to have a map, and then students are contributing to points on a map and adding their own thoughts or hyperlinks to different points on the map. You can do this with just any kind of image. So there's a lot of options, but I'll just show you how a basic wall works. And I apologize because Padlet is running very smoothly today, or not very smoothly today. So we'll see if we can get it to work. Might not. Okay, sorry. Took me a second to get the Padlet to work. I've never seen it be slow like this before, so don't let that sway you from using it. Anyway, so this is what happens after you create Padlet and select the type of Padlet you want. You can change everything you see here. So obviously you can change the title. Usually in the title is where I put whatever the task is that I want my students to complete. I use Padlets to share multimodal responses to things. I have students make memes a lot as their responses to a reading or to find an image that makes them or that they think summarizes the text, but you can also have them type responses. So here's an option. And then the description, you can add more information here. So you can give directions, click anywhere on the Padlet to contribute, use your name as the title. And then there's a lot of different things you can do. You can change your wallpaper to be something more creative. You can change the font, color scheme. You can get very creative here. Otherwise, you can just go with whatever pops up. You can change all of these different tools here. I do like to allow posting or comments so that students can comment back and forth to one another's posts. And I also like to give them the ability to respond with likes. Votes are sometimes effective, or stars, just anything that I can do to make it as interactive as possible. I try to do that. I don't usually require approval because, similar to Answer Garden, I usually want really fast feedback and I don't want to have to take the time to do approval. But if you want approval, or if you want to filter profanity, if you're concerned about your students, then you can make those changes. Once you've set everything up how you like it, you'll click Next. And then the Padlet is ready to go. A couple quick things before you share this with students. You are going to want to alter some of your settings. So there's a lot of options with privacy settings here. You can keep it completely private. However, I find that to make this, again, as quick and easy to use in your live sessions with as few tech difficulties as possible, I usually make mine public. I've never had an issue where anyone other than my students was accessing my Padlet. I don't think I make very interesting Padlets to the world beyond my class. So I do usually keep things public and then I just delete them after class. But you can also change this as much as you need to. So change privacy, I'm going to make it public. I'm going to allow anybody who visits to write. You can also make it so they can only read, and then you save. And then you can share this by copying a link, sharing the QR code. You can embed a Padlet on your Canvas page, whatever you want to do to share this with your students. Then when students come to this page after you've shared the link with them, all they need to do is double click anywhere and then they can share their post. So I usually have them put their name as the title, and then they'll either write something or they can add an image, they can add a hyperlink, whatever you're looking for them to do. There are a lot of options for ways for students to contribute to the Padlet. At the end of the Padlet, you'll have all of these different contributions all over the place. You can organize them however you want to. And students can see this as long as they have the Padlet open on their screens. It updates in real time. You can also share your screen again in WebEx for students. One final thing, you can also print a copy or just make a PDF copy of a Padlet. So if you do want to hold on to it for longevity and you don't want to have to delete it, you can make that PDF copy. One thing I've seen done really effectively here is to use the Padlet as a place to contribute questions, especially critical questions about a text, and then use that Padlet as a springboard for discussion or for student short written responses to the text. They can then just go to the Padlet, choose any question that they see, they are posted by their peers, and then respond that way. So hopefully these three tools, using a shared Google presentation, Answer Garden, and then Padlet, can help you make your live sessions a bit more interactive. As with any digital tool, just choose one and practice with it and use it a bunch until you and your students are comfortable. Don't feel like you need to use everything.